Golf Central Update, brought to you by TaylorMade.
And we welcome in the commissioner of the LPGA Tour, Mike Whan. Mike, big news today as you announced the revised schedule for the LPGA Tour for the upcoming season. Let's start with your first event. What went into the decision to start in Midland, Michigan in mid-July?
Yeah, in simplest terms, Ryan, when we announced we were going to start in mid-June, we said at the time that the two events we had to finish the month of June both had backup dates. So both Walmart and KPMG Women's PGA, we had later dates for them. So we wanted to wait until we got here till about May 1st to determine how comfortable we were with those events. And so by moving Walmart and KPMG later in the year, we're able to start essentially a month later and not affect any starts or the number of total tournaments we're playing. So it seemed like a pretty easy decision to make. Obviously, things are starting to get better, but not quite, in the go mode. So buying an extra month right now seems like a safe way to go. If we can get started in Midland, Michigan with Dow in mid-July and play literally until December 20th this year, we still got quite a bit of money, $57 million up for grabs. We're going to raise some purses, so we're going to play for an average of $2.7 million per event, which would be the highest per event purses we've ever played for. So there's still a lot of good news as long as we can sort of get clear of this virus and get playing in July.
Mike, you are a true professional. You answered about 6 of my questions there, so we're off to a good start. Let's backtrack just a bit and touch on some of those topics. You mentioned the move of KPMG. It is incredible what you've done with your major schedule started in mid-July and able to get everything in. How difficult was that?
Well, I love the fact that you say it like it's past tense, like we've got it all in. I've learned long ago in COVID world, plans are really nice, but the virus will decide when we start and how we start. But yes, our majors are important, not just because in the women's game, the majors give us an opportunity for the kind of exposure we don't celebrate week in and week out, but also the sheer amount of purse money that they bring to the table for these athletes. So I've worked pretty hard to make sure that we keep these on the table. That being said, obviously going to France and going to Scotland are going to be challenged, no different than going to Michigan or going to New York. A lot of these events are prepared to play no-fan events if we have to get there, but each event is essentially agreeing that we're going to make a 45-day out decision. So, at the end of May, we're going to take a good look at July and make sure that the schedule we put together is doable. We'll do the same thing in mid-June as it relates to the beginning of August going overseas. But right now, with where things are trending and testing and some of the other things that we need to put in place operationally, we feel pretty good about mid-July, and we are excited about the fact that the schedule is as packed as it is right up until Christmas.
All right, let's start with that first event. You brought up the fans. When I read your release, I found it fascinating. There was no mention of spectators. Is the plan now that fans would be allowed on the property?
So each event is different, Ryan. I would tell you that depending on who you talk to would be how far they're making the fan approach most aggressive. At the end of the day, I'm not creating Mike Whan's LPGA Tour schedule. I'm creating a tour schedule that our title sponsors want to host, want to be a part of, want to celebrate. So if they say to me, I'm excited about a no-fan experience, and we can do that here and fill in the blank in this city, in this market, then I'm all behind them on it. At the same time, if they look at me and say, Mike, what we're building here, what we invest our money in is really about a corporate experience where we bring fans together, we bring the community together. If that's what they're trying to build, I'm trying to give them a date so they can execute just that. So if we get up against the final go, no-go decision date of an event and we don't feel comfortable, we can put on the event that they want, not only to host for their customers, but can make sure it's something my caddies, my players, my staff want to be a part of. We'll kind of decide those one at a time. We're not in a no fan from a certain period of time zone. That was one of the benefits of moving back to July. We're hoping that our July events have fans, but it will make those decisions closer to the end of May, beginning of June.
How critical, Mike, will it be that every player, every caddy, every volunteer is tested before coming on the property for COVID-19?
Yeah, I would tell you, Ryan, right now, testing is probably our biggest critical path item, which is we want to make sure, first for us, we want to make sure that we're all healthy and safe in our interactions. I want to make sure my staff, my caddies, my athletes are comfortable. I want to make sure my volunteers are comfortable. And obviously, when we bring the tour to town, and it's a big tour coming from all over the world, we want to make sure that when we show up in a local hometown, we're safe in terms of what we're bringing to town too. So I want to be able to say to my sponsors, this group of people coming to your town is as safe as anybody coming to your town because we're testing on a pretty regular basis. We'll be COVID testing. We'll be doing daily temperature thermoscans, probably with facial recognition, so no contact. You just walk by the locker room, look at an iPad, and it'll recognize who you are and what your temperature is for the day. So could we be ready for testing by mid-June? Maybe. Do I feel comfortable we'll be ready by mid-July? Very comfortable.
So you are confirming then that you would not have an event unless every person was tested.
Yeah, we want to be able to test anybody that's competing or is going to be close to the athletes when we get started. That's correct.
Last thing, Mike, of course, the PGA Tour starting roughly a month before you at Colonial, June 11th. Will you be on property in Colonial to see how their process goes? If not, how much will you be in touch with Commissioner Jay Monahan on how the PGA Tour is going to run it a month before you?
Yeah, it probably won't come as a shock to you, but Jay and I are in pretty regular. In fact, I talked to him yesterday afternoon. We're in pretty regular conversation, as are the rest of the golf's kind of stakeholders. I talked to Martin Slumbers and Keith Pelley and Mike Davis and Seth Waugh pretty regularly through this thing. I think one of the benefits of COVID-19, which is even weird to use that term, is the collaboration that's happening among the different groups of stakeholders in golf. I don't know if I'll be on site. But I can tell you my team and the PGA Tour team is definitely working together. If they start in early June, we're definitely going to be trying to learn from everything they're going through. I think a lot of other sports will as well. They won't be the other sport we're staying connected with as we get through May and June, as other sports get started. And if they get started before us, we definitely want to learn as much as we can from them. I don't know if I'll send a real big staff there because one of the things Jay will be trying to do is keep the footprint on site really small, and I'm not going to get in the way of that. But I can promise you we'll be learning from each other as we have been throughout the last, however long this has been, 6 to 8 weeks of quarantine.
Well, Mike, as we all know, the LPGA Tour is indeed a world tour with players all over the world. Your situation is difficult as anyone. And from the very get-go, you've been up front with us. You've been out in front. And congratulations on the release of your schedule. As you said, nothing set in stone, but certainly all of us that love golf and love sports will keep our fingers crossed. As always, we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ryan, for keeping us on the radar, too, in this strange time. We appreciate the coverage.
Golf Central Update, brought to you by TaylorMade.